curious and want to access the Amherst training materials, which are available to you, by the way. Yeah, yeah. As a guild member, you can access those materials. You will find that he does this exactly the same thing in the training. He almost always, yeah, almost always, and he even tells them why he's giving the talk, and for exactly the same reason I just said, that, you know, after lunch, your blood supply is kind of like diverted, your system's diverted to somewhere else. And I think you might have mentioned it, you know, could we not do ATM after lunch? Yeah, so it's actually a good idea. Unless, of course, you have a really long lunch break and you eat right at the beginning and then you have maybe an hour or so to digest, then it's cool. But if you don't have that luxury, then what a better time to actually do a talk. But it's still a bit like this because a lot of the blood supply is redirected from your brain somewhere else. It's in the other brain, in here. Yeah. So there's a good rationale for it. All right. So I said, this is where we finished up yesterday with this image here, but I'll just backtrack a little bit. Oh, I won't disturb you now, but eventually you will need your little sticks and balls. Yeah, eventually, not now. So remember this image, which then Jenny referenced in her ATM. What? What? Are you seeing now? No, no. How's that? Yeah, okay. So yesterday, Jenny referenced this notion of the 3 inverted pyramids. And this is, I'll reiterate it again, this is Moshe's mechanical schematic of the 3 body masses that he thinks, or the 3 body collectives that he thinks are constantly balancing on top of each other. We could argue about this till the cows come home. But as a device for starting to understand what stability and instability is, it's a good start. Yeah. You certainly found out about stability and instability with those sticks and balls, yes? Yeah. Something had to hold those balls together, and this is a diversion, but please, I'll just acknowledge it as a diversion. And the only thing that was holding those 2 balls together was this elastic band that you used. And the only reason it was able to hold it together, because the elastic bands are elastic, you stretch them. In other words, now they have power stored inside them, yeah? Because they want to come back. And because they have power stored inside them, they pull those 2 objects together. That's all that muscles can do. Pretty dumb, yeah? On, off. A muscle cell will only do that. On, off. And so literally, you supplied a bit of your power, stretched the elastic, and then the elastic was trying to come back, and it was conjoining those 2 parts. That's what's happening. Oh, I've got a stick. Oh, now I feel really official. Okay. That's what's happening at this juncture right here. At that juncture right there, that's like your 2 balls resting on top of each other. They just want to fall off all the time. So something is keeping them in place. That something is muscular activity, which were the elastic bands. Yeah? And that's happening at 3 levels. But really, it's happening at every joint surface along the length of the skeleton. Every joint surface that is along that vertical axis. Actually, that's the wrong expression. Along the longitudinal axis of the body, that's happening at every joint. So you could say that you have a very unstable structure. That would like be having 38, 45 sticks and trying to balance that. Tricky stuff. it's even trickier because this little blue dot on the skeleton represents this notion of what they call the center of gravity. Once again, another abstract concept. It just is a way that physicists or engineers can talk about where the masses of the body balance from one point. So if you like, in this body, which is stiff, if I hold it there, can you see I'm not quite on the center of gravity. I'm not quite on the axis. I move it a little bit. Oh. Yeah. And if I kept going backwards and forwards, there'll be a moment when this is in balance. Now this is only in how many planes? One. This is in one plane of motion. But we have 3 planes to deal with. So my friends, I give you this guy. Yeah? Happy little fellow. Yeah? He has a face because we all can orient to a face. We know what is upright. Yeah? Now, where would be the center of gravity in this ball? And I think, Helen, you asked about a donut yesterday. Somebody asked about a donut. Who was a donut asker? I didn't. Someone said, what about a donut? Ah, yes, that was the question, and I replied donut. Okay, so this is the same problem. This is a collection of mass around a perimeter. There is nothing inside this ball except air. But the center of gravity is located in the air within the middle of the ball. And you'd have to do a little bit of imagination to go, if I hung that ball from a string and I was located right in the middle of the center of gravity, that ball wouldn't tip. It wouldn't tip this way. It wouldn't tip that way. Yeah? Wouldn't tip this way, wouldn't tip that way. It wouldn't tip that way, and it wouldn't tip this way. Yeah? Not that way. Wouldn't look down, wouldn't look up. Yeah? So first plane wouldn't do that, wouldn't do that. Second plane wouldn't do this, wouldn't do this. Third plane wouldn't do that, wouldn't do that. It would just stay suspended as it is. This is the imaginary game that these guys play, yeah? That it just would stay like that. In the same way that if I took a stick that's like this and suspended it from here, it just stays there. But if I hooked it a little bit off to one side, it'll stay a little bit off to one side because it's not in its center, which is that example. So center of gravity is this imaginary place that shifts depending on the position, the configuration of the body. So if you are in a quadruped position, chances are the center of gravity is going to be outside of the body, and the imaginary game you have to play, and it is an imaginary game. Imagine that somebody, I told you experiments can be pretty nasty. Imagine that someone took me in a hook across and just dipped me in liquid nitrogen, and I'd be stiff as a board, right? You'd have to find just the right place where I wouldn't spin in any direction. That's the spin motion, yeah? I wouldn't spin this way, wouldn't spin that way, wouldn't spin anyway. I'd just be suspended. That's what they're looking for. And that's what this is identifying in the previous picture. Each of these points is a point in which that pyramid would be balanced. Wouldn't tilt in any direction, would just kind of float there. Now, why is this important? Because where that center of gravity is located is determinant of your balance. Yeah? When the center of gravity is located in the middle of a sphere like this, this little guy is an example of perfect poise. Doesn't matter where you put him, it's always poised. It's always over what? Yeah, its center of gravity is always over the place in which it makes contact. There's a relationship between where the center of gravity is, let's call this the center of gravity, and where that center of gravity is located relative to the part that is supporting it. And in this ball, in a sphere, doesn't matter where you put the sphere, the center of gravity is always directly over the base of support. So you can do this with it. It just rolls. It just rolls. Roll it around from each other. Yeah? You can give it a push and it just moves along with hardly any force whatsoever, as distinct from that orange box. May I borrow the orange box? Yo, mama. That's... This orange box also has a center of gravity, and it's located somewhere in that suspension point. However, unlike the ball, it has a flat surface. And when I go to shift the box, let me do it so you can recognize, yeah, so up here. When I go to tilt the box, and let's say that's the center of gravity somewhere in there, you see what starts to happen? I have to lift the center of gravity off the ground. It has to actually lift for that box to go the next step. And that's something that doesn't happen in that ball. The center of gravity on the ball just stays the constant, just goes across the ground at the same level. Never goes up, never goes down. And as long as the ground is level and frictionless, the ball will continue forever. But this, here we go, doesn't quite roll the way the ball does. Roll it around. It's clunky. Can you see that? It goes up and down and dodges everywhere. Yep. Oops. Yep. Kick it across. Yeah. The ball's not clunky. Absolutely unique to a sphere and a cylinder, but a cylinder only in one plane. And a wheel. Yeah? A bicycle wheel. So whoever invented wheels did a brilliant job. There's a nice Gary Larson cartoon where these two cavemen are there, and one caveman is saying to another, "I've just made a new invention. I think it'll take off." And it was basically a square wheel. You seen that one? That's good. I like that. Now, why is this important? Now, here is where the importance lies for us. Because we can be in different shapes. We can be kind of like this stick, vertical. And when we're like this stick vertical and the center of gravity is somewhere here, which is actually quite high, it's not low, it's quite high. And you can see on the skeleton, he's not standing on much surface area. That's like this stick. It'll stay there while I'm adding a little bit of work, but how long will it stay there? Not long, because it's got a high center of gravity over a small little base of support, and gravity wants to pull it over, and it only takes a little bit. It's going to got a little bit of play, a little bit of play. And as soon as, how can I demonstrate this? Can I use your book? That's not going to be big enough. Sorry, that's not going to be small enough. Yeah. One of these orange dots that you see on the ground, can you see them? That, think of one of those orange dots, 1/3 that size. That's the base of support of this stick. Yeah, it's pretty small. So that means how much play have you got? Oh, it's lunchtime. Yeah. Yeah. How much play have you got? Very little. It only takes a little bit of play, and that center of gravity is the analogy. Center of gravity, base of support, perimeter. The center of gravity, oh, it's got an O there, that's good. Yeah. Center of gravity goes shift, 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 and then it gets to this angle here, and as soon as it gets there, it falls. Absolutely. So what they call the base of support determines how much play, how much movement through space you have in the center of gravity. In a stiff object, you've got to remember, in a stiff object, this is stiff, this is stiff. Unless you're holding yourself stiffly, which if you're scared, we do, unless you're holding yourself stiffly, you're not like this. But just for the sake of argument, just now, yeah, let's pretend that we're dealing with stiff things. So the bowl is a great example. Yeah? Its center of mass is also outside of the actual material. I flip the bowl this way, and to actually lift the bowl from the ground, to actually start to move its center of gravity, to shift it across the ground, I have to, can you see how far I have to move it? A long, 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 long way. Can you see that? If I was able to screw this stick into here, oh, much happier. Now I could tilt the stick a long, shut up. Now I could tilt the stick a long, long way before it falls over. Ah, Jenny, cool. Orange? Oh, thank you. This is just something I prepared earlier. Okay. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Do you want to talk about that one? Do you think I'm doing fine? I'll consider that a compliment because Jenny's actually an engineer and I'm just an amateur. So here you have the same, that's actually a beautiful example, yes? So here you have the same thing. Stick, I don't have to hold it. Look how broad this is. Center of gravity of this stick, because most of the weight is down here, would be around probably there. This would be kind of like, how do I find out? Out there, see? So that's about the center of gravity. So that center there now has to, look how far it has to shift before it falls. If I let it go here, it will definitely fall. But what you can't sense is what I'm feeling in my fingers. Because I could be blind and I can tell you whether it's going to fall or not. I can tell you. Because I know the difference between something falling into my hand and something wanting to move away from my hand, and that word up there on that board, something that is perfectly poised. Yeah, it's just poised, like that ball, ready to go in any direction. Yeah, well, in this particular, yeah. And I can feel it. I can feel it. And the thing is, you can feel it when you're standing. You can tell what it's like to feel well balanced. You can tell what it's like to be a little bit precarious. And the equation is this: the bigger, the more extensive your base of support, in other words, the more you're spread over the ground, and the lower your center of gravity is, the more stable you become, which means to actually move yourself requires a lot of grunt, a lot of grunt. You have to exert a lot of power to actually move yourself. It's the difference between rolling that ball and lifting this box. And you have some beautiful equipment in this room that will give you that distinction quickly And one of the beautiful pieces of equipment is you, and the other beautiful piece of equipment are the chairs. So, and then there's these guys. But let's use the chairs. So between the two of you, could you get a chair? Thanks for that, Jenny. That was really good. Thank you. One chair. Okay, and let's set up the scenario. So one of you is the, just going to be the questioner. You know, when does this chair feel the lightest? That's your question. When does this chair feel the lightest? Sorry, by lightest, I mean, when does it feel the easiest to move? In what position do you hardly have to do anything to shift it? So first of all, start with the chair. Oh, well, actually, no, I think that's defined enough, isn't it? Why don't you find what position of this chair is the heaviest to move? In other words, you have to exert, one more parameter. You're only allowed to use your thumb and index finger. I nearly forgot that one. That's actually a really important one. Only allowed to try to shift it with a thumb and index finger. You can start with a chair in any position. It has multiple bases of support. But it's a stiff object. So find out, thumb and index, only thumb and index, because those muscles in there are really small and you'll detect the difference really quick. Oh, not thumb and index collected with the other fingers. No, 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 no. You're very tricky people. No, just that. Not this. Not this. No. Yeah. So one person is doing all the experiential work. You're the lab man. You're the lab woman. And the other person is the theoretician. Oh, does that feel... do you doing a lot of work there? Does that feel light? Are you doing a lot of work there? Does that feel lighter?
Oh, wow.
Got there. No. Could you find your little twizzle sticks again, please? Twizzle sticks for you. I keep one. The relationship between when something is really stable and how much work you need to do to shift it, and when something is really unstable, how little work you need to shift it. It's a power relationship. Yeah? The more stable it is, when you go to move yourself, it'll feel like a lot of work. When you're unstable, all it takes is a... And now, can you see the relationship between the biology of posture and mechanics? There's a place that you can be where you are unstable, poised, and ready to go in any direction, including, it's not just forward, back, left, right, down, up, it's also around. Now, you brought up a great point, Kat, yeah? And that is, you've done, well, you should know this, you've done a keto, right? So you know, when you've studied martial arts, you know there's a way of entering a person's stance. And Tamara, you should know this is from Tai Chi. You know, every person has a particular stance. And it's kind of like this. If you put the chair on its back like this, its base of support has got a particular shape to it. one direction is going to be easier to move than this one. Yeah? In this position, it's a totally different shape. So the actual shape of the base of support will kind of dictate which way is the easiest to move this object. And if you experiment it, is it easy this way? Is it easy this way? Oh, I can feel, yeah? Is it easy that way? Okay. So if we can work together a little bit. So for instance, so if I'm standing like this, which way would you push me? Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah? So remember, if I'm stiff, in other words, if I can't adapt, okay, anatomical, off you go. Yep, bye-bye. Which way is easier for you? Can you feel the difference? No. Yeah, of course. So your base of support will make a difference to how you feel too. Yeah, great. And where you shift your weight. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Which is easier? That one? Or? Okay. And now if I stand this way, but you stand relative to me, now which way would be the hardest? Now, yeah, this way. You see, because my base of support is wide across this direction, and he went for the easy part because he's martial artist. Yeah. But then if I stand in a more complex position, yeah, like yes, I did. Yeah, you see, he still picks it. Thank you. Because that as a martial artist, you register it. What was your question? You register it below consciousness because you've trained for it. And if you're in contact with somebody, you can actually feel it. You can feel where they're unstable. And that's where you go. Did Feldenkrais know about this? Yes, he did. Do I know about it? But yes, I do. But not because of judo, but because of IKEA. Because IKEA have very long boxes that are very heavy. Yeah? And you know, you've got to get them out of the car. And then there's a moment that if you just find the center of the box, everything just goes whoop, and you can carry it. But if you go, which I do, yeah, so you break your back, yeah. So martial artists know this. People that do physical work well know this. And you, if you have this in mind, this will become a rich ground of finding just the right position to make something feel easy. Now, I want to finish up with these little guys. So, notice, if that ball represents the center of gravity, yeah? In this guy, the center of gravity is a long way up. Yeah, it's quite high. It's probably what they say right pretty much where the middle of the body is. Yeah? But you know, it can be like that. You can have positions where the center of gravity is so low that things become really stable, even though you might become upright. So, you know, there's a way of standing, and those of you who at the training last week, you know, yeah? There's a way of standing and using your abdominal muscles where you can literally let the viscera go more towards the direction of the bottom of the pelvis, more into the basin. Yeah? It's like you just send your weight down. Yeah. But it's not the, you know, this guy. Yeah? It really is just really a very intelligent use of this whole musculature of the trunk and just letting the weight go down. And you'll learn to do that. And that's a very stable place to work from. So, but even so, even if I've sunk all my weight down here and I'm feeling a bit more stable, I'm still an unstable object. So try to balance your stick with the ball up like that. And it falls. High center of gravity, very small base of support. It's just going to fall. Yep. Lower center of gravity, stick above, still falls. Yeah. Yeah, so I put the stick on the flat object and damn it, it still falls. Unless you do something tricky. And it falls, can you see it falls slower? No, it actually doesn't fall slower. That's why it falls at the same speed. Look, same speed. I filled that ball with water. It's actually even heavier below. Yeah? And even though it's really still heavy below, its base of support is so small, it's such a little point, that it can't stay balanced above that point, even though there's a lot of weight down there. Yeah. Yeah. So, you can feel that one. Yeah. And it still doesn't work. So this is the relationship between this abstract place called the center of gravity, which is sometimes outside of your body, around there, and the center of gravity, which is sometimes located really down low, but if I draw all my guts up, it comes higher. And a little bit. However, do you remember in that ATM lesson when you were sitting in that asymmetrical position and you had this hand like this? And remember I asked you to put this hand up there? Where did your center of gravity go then? Up or down? He's flicking his eyebrows. He knows. Up. You've taken more weight up. So how come swaying became easier? Yeah, that's right. Suddenly. Yeah? So if you've got that heavy ball in your hand, you can feel it. It's got a nice feel to sway when you've got something heavy and pendulous at the top. Yeah? Something kind of... And that's how metronomes work, yes? They have that little weight. You put the weight lower down. You put the weight all the way at the top. It's all where you put the weight. Same fulcrum, where you put the weight. So, second experiment. We played with a chair, and chairs are stiff. So I'm going to ask you to pretend not to be chairs, but pretend to be stiff. One of you will be trying to move the other. And yeah, so one of you will be the prime mover, and the other one, the other person, could you please find the most stable position you could be in that would not allow your partner to move you from the spot? But you have to remain stiff, not this. Any position, find the most stable position you can find. No, she's doing the task really well. And she's going to try to stay stiff. That's going to be even harder. Oh, you're allowed to use more than 2 fingers now. That's okay. Oh, she's nice to you. She's being flexible. Yeah? But notice how hard it is to keep yourself stiff, to actually keep yourself together. You got to keep yourself together. Not one part moving relative to another, everything together. Oh, she's not stiff. She's not stiff. She's not stiff. Yeah. Well, you know, if he's really stiff, that means it's like I've dipped him into liquid nitrogen and he's just one solid, stiff kind of guy. That means there's no joints that are movable. He's just one piece. You could, but you'd need a bit of a couple of winches. It would work. See, that's what I call wisdom. Why try? See, no, she's differentiated. Stay in one piece. Yeah, she has. Can you feel how hard it is to stay in one piece? Yeah. Her back bent. Now stop a moment. Stop a moment. I'm going to interrupt your play. I'm sorry. I've just realized there's two ends of experience here. There's the experience of the person doing the lifting, but then there's the experience of the person on the floor trying to keep themselves in one piece. Can you feel how hard it is to keep yourself in one piece? To not let yourself bend in any way or twist? You would break. But which means as you play, give your partner a little bit of a break to unstiffen so they can just chill a little bit and then they can get stiff again. Yeah. Yeah. And let's add one more thing. So you've pretty quickly found what a very stable position is. It's that damn position we've been in, that shape of X. Yeah, big base of support, very low center of gravity to the ground. You're going to have a hard time. Get a winch. Yeah? Now, still with the constraint of being on the floor, in other words, don't be standing, don't be kneeling, but stay parallel to the floor in any position you like. Could you? No, like, don't be like this or like this, but, you know, be kind of to the floor. And now, person lying down, person who's being the stiff person, the corpse, could you find the least stable position? Yeah. The least stable. However you interpret that, that's fine. I'm going to let you play now. Okay. One more position, please. One more position. Just to play with. Could you please be in this position? Yeah, I know. So now here's what you can play with. Because you now have, you remember you've got kind of 4 points here. You've actually got 6, but they're not supporting you very much. Yeah. You've got 4 points here. And what you can do is you can bring 2 points close together or one on top of each other and you become a triped. Yeah. You can bring these 2 points close to the knee and that's different again. You can bring all 4 points close together and that's different again. You can bring these points really wide apart and these points really wide apart. Yeah. So could you play and do know that there's 2 parameters. The person is stiff, and if you try to lift them from one direction, it's hard. But if you go looking for just the right direction, thanks a lot. Yeah, if you go looking for just the right direction, it might be a little easier. Okay? Person, the quadruped, stay frozen. She has to resist. Sorry. No. All right. You ready for one more variation? One more variation. One more variation. I guess you're not. One more variation. Can I work with you, Sue? Can you get into your most stable position? Yeah. Yeah, your most stable position. So still a position of stability, yes? Still, can you see the base of support and the shape, how it's kind of like, it's not quite a square, but yeah, big. And here's her center of gravity here. Now, so far I've been asking you, be stiff, be stiff, be stiff. Don't be stiff. Just give, just give, all right? And you see, even if I try to pick the best place to push, if she's giving, she's just go with it. Hard to push her. She kind of adjusts. Damn. I don't know. I first did this in contact improvisation, so I don't know. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you push her. Well, it doesn't matter where you try to. Oh, I got a place. Yeah. Because she shifts her weight, she just adapts moment by moment, moment by moment. And that's what makes us so stable standing. Because we actually counterbalance our body weights to remain upright. Off you go, that's enough. Thank you, Sue. Okay. Yeah, it's nice. Okay, you got the idea? You got the idea? About base of support, center of gravity, stiff, not stiff, but more importantly, have you got that feeling? Can you remember that feeling of what it's like to try to move something that is really, really stable? It takes a lot of power. And as soon as it's unstable, it just takes like how much? Just takes that. And that's the embodied experience of it. And that's what we're trying to get to, that embodied experience. So please take a break. We'll come back and we'll see what we can do with that theory.